In this week's episode of PokeClass, we're going back to Rogue deck analysis with Aggron Mill, a deck you may not have heard about before, and I'm going to talk you through the main cards in the deck, as well as give you a full skeleton to get you started with this strange concept. Use the annotations above to skip to the parts that you want to see, or watch the whole video to get the most out of the analysis. All this and more is in this week's episode of PokeClass, sponsored by Collector's Cash, your #1 place to go for Pokemon sealed products and single cards. Check them out after the show at www.collectorscash.com. Hey everyone, and welcome to episode 90 of PokeClass, where today I'm going back to a deck analysis, but again with the twist of the rogue aspect, as we have pretty much covered all ultra competitive decks in the current format right now. Today's episode is about a deck that I was introduced to on PTCGO, by having an incredibly close game against it where the concept of it caught me completely off guard, as we thought this kind of deck was dead and gone a while back now. However, I found the concept innovative and pretty good too, so I thought I'd introduce it to you all as well to see what you thought about it. Today's episode is going to be on Aggron Mill, a very rogue deck that is showing some promise and is a very fun deck to play with, but not too fun to play against. Do you remember our little metal ant friend Durant from a previous format? Well, we all swiftly forgot about him in a hurry when Darkrai came out, as it made that deck pretty obsolete in the competitive world. However, in Dragons Exalted, we have been given another metal type that likes to munch on the cards from your opponent's deck, but this time through an ability rather than an attack, and it's a stage 2. Sounds terrible, right? But players have somehow managed to get it to work, and fairly well at that. Let me introduce you to Aggron. Aggron was one of those cards from Dragons Exalted that you look at and think, that's a neat ability, but it's a stage 2 with a horrible attack, so into the binder you go. But for the many players that do this, there are a couple that try to get it to work, and stumbled across something that actually works fairly well as a deck. So looking at it, you do see the ability, the fact it's a stage 2 with 140 HP, a single attack and a hefty retreat cost, but that's just taking a glance at the card, so let's see what this Pokemon is really about. First up, we have the attack, which costs 2 metal energy and a colourless and does 90 damage with the special clause that you must flip 2 coins. If both of the results are tails, this attack does nothing. So not only is the attack cost awkward with the fact that you can't use double colourless with it, but you could be doing no damage every now and then for your troubles. So with this deck, it's definitely not the attack we're going to be taking seriously, so let's take a look at the ability. Aggron's ability is called Toppling Wind and works when Aggron comes into play by evolving either by placing onto a stage 1 or through rare candy. Either of those trigger the ability. What it does is allows you to discard the top 3 cards from your opponent's deck. Simple. Now this is what we're talking about. Another way of winning the game, for those of you that don't know, is by decking out or by not being able to draw a card at the start of your turn. Regardless of how many prize cards both players have remaining, if you can't draw a card at the start of your turn, you lose. For those of you familiar with Durant from last format, this card has got to be whetting your appetite a little bit. However, Aggron is a stage 2 compared to Durant's basic form, and you only get to discard 3 cards when it comes into play just once, so in theory, you could only evolve into Aggron a maximum of 4 times throughout a game, resulting in a 12 card discard, nowhere near enough to deck your opponent out. This may be the case, but the second part of the deck is also a card that we were given in Dragons Exalted, Devolution Spray. This card is a reprint of a card all the way back from an ancient format, and is a trainer card that allows you to devolve one of your Pokemon in play and put that card back into your hand. You cannot evolve the Pokemon that was devolved straight away in the same turn, but another basic or stage 1 that has been in play for a full turn can be evolved again with the card that you place back into your hand. So now we have a way to effectively double our amount of toppling wins that we can use in a game, but that still won't be enough to get rid of your opponent's deck to win the game. So we have one more card that completes the puzzle, which was also released in Dragons Exalted and you should be very familiar with already, Sableye. This guy has become the heart and soul of another deck now, already a major player in the current format for dark-based competitive decks, but now it is used as a crutch to disrupt, devolve, and evolve your Pokemon to keep the discards coming and keep you consistently doing so. This deck is designed to utilise Sableye Junk Hunt to the max by getting back your devolution sprays as and when you need them to give you as much evolving into Aggron as you possibly can, which helps to solve the problem we were having to getting through it enough toppling wins to deck the opponent out. However, Sableye not only keeps your devolution spray in your hand or deck, but it can also open up the possibility of you running both energy discarding hammers and the ability to keep consistent by getting back random receivers when you need them the most. So now that you know what on earth this deck does and how we're going to get it to work, let's get to what really matters, how to build this strange deck. And here is an almost full skeleton list to get you started. So we start with the guy that keeps this deck running as smoothly as possible, and we looked closely at him a second ago, Sableye. Just to recap, Sableye is used purely for Junk Hunt to get your resources back from the discard pile to aid in your evolution and devolution, as well as getting back your crushing and enhanced hammers and general consistency boosting cards. You've got 4 of them for the plain reason that is your 100% preferred starter, as your Aggron line has an awkward retreat cost, and so that you can get Junk Hunting and setting up from the first turn. The other decent thing about Sableye is that it's fairly safe from a donk with 70 HP rather than 60 HP, apart from those times where Ho-Oh is concerned, but it also has no weakness, meaning it's going to take a decent attack to get rid of it. Up next, you've got a 4-3-3 line of your main strategy maker, Aggron. I did start with a 4-3-4 line of this guy, but it is extremely rare that you're ever going to get out 4 Aggrons in a single game, and you want to be focusing on devoluting them anyway, so that you have a spare Lairon to use toppling wind multiple times per turn. This reason also explains why you have 3 Lairon in here, as you want to be evolving normally most of the time, so that you can use Devolution Spray, put Aggron into your hand, and then evolve again in the same or on the next turn. After this, you have a single Darkrai EX finishing up your Pokemon line. You may have noticed that I haven't mentioned much of Aggron's retreat cost, even though it could pose as a problem, and that is because of this very card. You are only going to be running Dark Energy in the deck, so this card is a no-brainer to include to give your huge Aggrons free retreat when they become your opponent's capture targets. Darkrai can also prove as an attacker if it ever comes to that in that very strange situation, but it is mainly here for keeping your field versatile and getting your Sableyes into the active position every single turn. Just a quick note is that you could place another one in here if you're worried about prizing it too often, but take note that you don't really want to be starting with it, but do bear this in mind when trying to fill the spaces. Moving on to the trainers cards, and you have a total of 35, which is quite a lot for a deck at the moment, but consistency is really hard to get right in this format, which is what we're trying to achieve here. A total of 12 supporters along with 2 random receiver should be just fine to give you a supporter option every single turn, and still have the option to use Junk Hunt for the random receiver when desperate for more cards. You may be finding it strange that a deck that relies fully on a stage 2 is relying so much on Juniper to get going, but it does work as you have Sableye to save your resources. By having so many Sableye, you've lost a lot more flexibility when using Juniper and Ultra Ball, so there shouldn't be too much worry there, and it's also worth noting that N is an extremely powerful card in this deck, as you won't be drawing prizes, but your opponent will. The choice between Bianca and Cheren is the same as always, but I would personally suggest Bianca as you do run 4 Ultra Ball in here, which is designed to give you the maximum Pokemon search possible in this deck. 4 Devolution Spray is an absolute necessity, as it is essentially the card behind the strategy of your entire deck. If you don't have Devolution Spray, you won't be able to deck your opponent out. Having 4 makes sure you can draw into them when you need to Junk Hunt something else with Sableye, and gives you enough to work with over the course of the game to keep those discards coming. Up next, you have 6 different Hammer cards, 4 Crushing Hammer and 2 Enhanced Hammer. Since this deck's only way to win the game is by decking out your opponent, you need to slow down your opponent from taking prizes as much as possible while you whittle down their deck. Since a lot of the main attackers in the format right now need around 3 energy to attack, Crushing Hammer can play a big part in whether your opponent can attack the following turn or not, and that is made worse for them by the fact that you can get them back as much as you like with Sableye to cripple them even more. I also have Pokemon Catcher in here at 3 copies, as you want as many ways to stall out your opponent as possible, which also works well with your hammers. The scenario when you can Crushing Hammer away an energy from their attacker and then catch something with a retreat cost to control their energy attachment and stop them from attacking comes up quite a lot and is the key to buying you time. 2 Super Rod follows on next, because you do rely so much on Juniper to get yourself set up in the initial stages of the game. You can get back your trainers with Sableye, so they aren't too much of an issue if they get in the way of a Juniper. But Pokemon you can't save so easily, so 2 Super Rod should keep your forced Pokemon discards from being as big of an issue. And the last card in your trainers section is 2 Heavy Ball, as it is the best Pokemon search out there for Pokemon with 3 or more retreat cost, which both your Lairon and Aggron have. A search card this good with no downside is a no-brainer to put into a list where you need to search out Pokemon that are key to your strategy so quickly. We finish up this list with just 8 Darkness Energy, as Sableye only needs the one to use Junk Hunt, and you aren't going to need them for anything else, apart from getting that free retreat from Darkrai. You'll only be attaching 1 energy to any Pokemon on your field at any time, so this is why the energy may seem a little bit low. And that is pretty much your Aggron Mill Rogue deck all summed up for you. You have 2 free spaces from this skeleton, and I would suggest that you just add more consistency, like adding in things such as a 4th Pokemon catcher, another heavy ball, or even another super rod to keep you running as smoothly as possible. As mentioned earlier, you could also put in another Darkrai if you feel you don't have as freely available access to it, but that is up to you. One big thing to note is the lack of rare candy in the list, which I've left out for a reason. You don't always want to be using rare candy to get out your Aggrons for the reasons stated earlier. If you rare candy into your Aggrons, it may be quicker, but when you use Devolution Spray, you'll have to rare candy again to get it out, which you either need to draw into or waste a spot of junk hunting to do. When junk hunting, you almost always want either Devolution Spray or Crushing Hammer, so I would either try the deck without it or try it with 2 rare candy if you want a little bit more initial speed from the deck. Give them both a go and see what you think. And that's pretty much it. Aggron brings back a once popular concept of winning the game a different way than just taking prizes, and does it fairly well too. At first it may seem like just a fun deck, but take it for a spin and you'll find that it's very fun to play, but also quite hard to play against when you get the deck going. I would definitely recommend it to players that aren't taking their last few battle roads too seriously, or for a serious deck idea in the future. Give it a spin and see what you think. So thank you all for watching this week's episode of PokeClass, and make sure you leave a comment in the comment section below, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe too if you haven't done so already. A favourite would also be really appreciated too. Just a final note before I go, I've recently written an article for the 6 prizes underground, and I would really appreciate it if you could give it a read, and if you liked it, let me know on the forums and give it a thumbs up. The link going straight to the article will be in the description below. Thanks once again for watching PokeClass, and I hope you all have a great week.